And welcome back to Miniature Dragon Comic Review, episode 50. Party favor stuff. As always, I'm your host, Daniel Doc Gentry, and with me, again, as always, are our gurus, Alex and Woody. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey.
Hi there, Doc.
How's everybody doing now that we've had 2 weeks worth of sleep after Emerald City? Are we all caught up? And...
No. I'm doing okay, though.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I jumped right in and started doing stuff myself, and I know Alex has been busy because we game a little together. And
Alex will tell you I was already doing stuff the night of the show.
you need to take a break.
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah, the convention was a break.
Yeah,
the rest of everything, and then
true.
everything piled up because of the break.
Yeah,
it didn't feel like a break. I feel like I walked 20 miles that day. Or those days.
Yeah. Well, I was on my feet. I was the guy that didn't get to use the chair.
No chair for you.
That's right. That's my curse. There's no chair.
You own the chair. Can't you just take the chair?
Well, we had artists that I was trying to sell their stuff. So I was like, hey, employ these people, and they're in the chair, so.
You should have been like, buy your own chair and take it back.
Yeah, I'm sure that would go over really well.
Stand up and draw. Yeah, Emerald City was really cool. A lot of the videos, pictures are up on our Instagram, our Twitter, Facebook. Alex put together all YouTube. That's what I was gonna say, though. You put together a link of all the interviews that we did when we were walking around. You could see some after pictures that cracked me up of tearing down. I didn't get any pictures of setting up, but I do apologize about that. But it was a lot of fun. Check it out. See if you're in there. If you are, tag yourself. Let us know. We like to know who was there. So we're going to jump in episode 50, which means we were just talking about this. This is the 52nd episode we recorded. This is 1 year of recording.
And that doesn't count the episodes we did with Keenan.
Right, no.
That doesn't count because this is with Doc.
I said us.
Yes.
So I mean that's
we love you, Keenan. But
I mean, I've put up with you guys for a year every week for half an hour, actually an hour because we do a half an hour setup. People don't see, so
yeah.
That's amazing. So, but what we decided this week is Woody asked us to do Captain Marvel last week, but because of Emerald City Comic Con and me being as not smart as I am, I picked up the wrong thing and got the graphic novel, and then cussed Woody out saying I'm not going to read both of these. And then I realized that was dumb because I totally could have pulled it off. But we're going to go into the 2019 Captain Marvel #1, another reboot. Yay. What do you want to give us some history on this?
It's not actually a reboot. It was just a continuation of the story. Marvel has never rebooted. It's the same continuity since 1960-something. So, no, it's basically a relaunch.
Other universes?
Yeah, they do other universes sometimes, but... So,
not a reboot.
Yeah, the history of the Captain Marvel character is basically just you've got Captain Marvel, which was the male character, the original Captain Marvel that they managed to create after snagging the name back from DC, and he dies of cancer, and then you get Carol Danvers eventually becoming the female Wonder Woman of the Marvel universe, and this particular series, part of what's going on with it is that there is. When they were preparing to do the Captain Marvel movie, and they were trying to capitalize on the Secret Wars, the Civil War movie that came out, some of you guys decided to do a Civil War 2 and basically cast Carol Danvers as the villain and did a complete character assassination of her character and destroyed kind of her credibility in the comic book community. And so this series is actually part of trying to rebuild the character and have her be... create relevancy, I think, with the movie coming out. And I think they did a pretty good job. Like, just jumping in, blind and not having read a lot of Captain Marvel in the past. I didn't really feel like I needed to have known anything. And they did a pretty good job of presenting her as an interesting character. And she certainly tonally seemed to fit well enough with what was in the movie. So that's the quick and dirty of it.
Okay, so I'm a little confused, though. You say it's not a reboot, and the only reason I said that was this is 2019. This is issue #1.
Yeah, it's a relaunch.
Okay. I didn't know they've been changing everything. I'm super glad that Tony Stark looks like Tony Stark used to before Robert Downey Jr. started playing him. So,
yeah, but I mean, like, you know, when they do these things, I mean, like, you got another comic book creator comes in, they do whatever they want with the character, they change things around, and it's like it might as well be a reboot. You know, like this is a book that's basically something you come in cold, never having known really anything about the character, and you don't have to know about her complicated origin or the fact they've rewritten her origin a couple times or any of these things. You can just, okay, so she's got powers, she hangs out with Spider-Woman, boom, you're good to go.
All right, so let's get down to it. Alex, what did you think of this one?
Well, it wasn't too bad of a read. I mean, especially it wasn't a graphic novel, and that was really appreciated. I think especially with, like, doing the show was a lot of fun, but at the same time, you know, it's kind of homework, the show, where it's like, okay, I got to go review a book, and let's do an oral presentation at the end of the week. You're going to be graded on, you know, sentence structure and grammar here. But to be serious, you know, this was a fun read. I definitely did like the art. I felt in the first part of the book, they have something that was almost like the Kraken, from Greek mythology. And just the way that the flow of how the character is, and like your statement about Iron Man, you know, felt very organic within the way that the setting of how this Marvel story was taking place. You know, it didn't feel like, okay, here's just kung fu fight scene because it's needed, because that's what the demographics call for. And the interactions of the characters were just well put together, I thought. So that's story and kind of art. And as typography, I didn't see anything that really, like, blaringly stared at me and, you know, misspellings or anything that was, like, weird, because the way that the world bubbles had too much black on the left and not so much on the right, or any other weirdness of that nature, the last book. So, yeah, I thought it was not too bad. And then especially I got the opportunity to watch the movie recently, and one of my biggest worries or concerns of, like, when we were going to review this was, okay, are we going to spoil basically the movie by reading this book?
We didn't.
Yeah. It felt like it was its own thing. It was its own kind of thing going on, and I like that aspect.
Yeah. Hey, Woody, what about you?
Well, I enjoyed it. Like, the only thing about it that I wish they'd done differently was that, like, they had the part where James Rhodes died in Secret Wars 2, and they had this whole relationship. He apparently been dating Carol Danvers, which never would happen until that book. And then they had him come back to life, of course, and then they have the whole awkward meeting. And I would have preferred that didn't happen, where they didn't have, like, address the fact that he came back to life, because that's one thing of comic books that I am heavily critical of. Like, handle like, just, oh, well, they're the revolving door of the afterlife. It's like, what do they think this is, Dungeons and Dragons? But
hey, Boba Fett died for your sins.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. But
no, he didn't.
But anyways, like, I actually really enjoyed the book. One of the things I liked most about it was that she didn't have the mohawk. I always thought that was a bad look for Captain Marvel, and, you know, it's just I guess all I can say about it was a fun read. You know, I mean, like, I didn't have any preconceptions going in it, and have any, you know, bias on it. You know, the only thing I guess maybe I might comment on is it does seem like this may have been, I know I got some shit for this last time, but, like, this may have been intended as, like, a book specifically to appeal to girls. There's definitely, like, a girl power theme going on, and particularly in, like, showing a preview of what's coming up. But I mean, just as a fun read, I thought it was well put together, well executed, pretty solid. Like, it didn't feel rushed, and there was a lot going on, and you didn't feel like you were missing something, and it didn't feel rushed. And I also thought it was rather interesting how the Avengers were kind of, like, they knew she was a total powerhouse, but they were like, "Oh, let's come to her rescue." Oh, she doesn't need it. Okay, and I thought that was kind of funny, you know.
So on art, I didn't like that it seemed to go into different styles as it went. I just want to start off by saying I really enjoyed this comic book. There's just a couple things that set me off, but there's a couple things that really were done very well. And I'm not talking about like how the cover is a different art than like the rest of the book is. It just seems like some stuff, the Tony Stark suits when they come into play, they're not done the same in each panel. It's like somebody put a little bit more detail into one panel and not enough into another, and I don't know, it kind of threw me off because the pattern wasn't there. And you guys know me, just give me enough detail in the background with the background suits and my imagination does the rest, and it does great normally on its own. It was just weird that they put a little time into one frame of those and not all of them. They weren't identical.
Yeah.
The part that I loved is the part that you brought up, which was funny, where Rhodes calls for help, everybody comes running, Captain Marvel pretty much has it taken care of when they get there. The part that I love is that little bit extra when Captain Marvel said, "No, you don't understand, it was pretty bad, safe than sorry, this guy was strong." Like, it did not feel like reading a comic book that's written... At that point, it didn't feel like a comic book that was written for propaganda or to push an issue or whatever. It felt natural. Even though I don't understand the overly done misogynistic bad guy. Like, I mean, overly done misogynistic. Like,
oh, you mean the reject from Road Warriors, like
no,
Mad Max?
Nobody ever talked like that misogynistic guy. Like, that was just really over the top. And I'm wondering if it plays into the story further on, because we don't get a glimpse of what happens after that. I seriously wonder if it's something else, because it sets up to feel like one thing, but I know some of these writers like to set it up where you're like, oh, I kind of understand, or I get what they're doing, and then it like turns. And
it looks like it's pretty straightforward. Like, she's going to be leading a rebellion against this guy.
I get
at the end.
That's
what it looks like.
I get what it looks like, but you can't just top that off. Plus, it I don't know. Like, partway through that, I was like, these two just need to get together. Call it a day. Villain superhero couple. But no, it was oddly over the top, and I do mean like extremely over the top, and that's the part that threw me off a little bit. But it didn't take away from the overall book. I just wish that wasn't, because that part's like 3/4 to the end. And like I said, it just throws you off. It throws this wrench into this really well done, well moving story at that point to have that saying. The fight was cool. The some of the little exchanges that weren't like overly misogynistic were actually really cool in the fight. And then the way it ends and what it looks like. Yes, it looks like she's leading a revolution, and I guarantee that's it. But against whom? And was that guy's whole thing to try to get her to come with? Like, these are questions that I had in my head, which is cool, because a lot of stuff like that, I'm really good at putting things together. I'm very logical. I find little points, and I can follow through with that normally. I'm not allowed to touch Christmas present boxes because I can tell you what's in them normally. But this one really, like, that quote-unquote bad guy, I started questioning at the end, like, because it was just over the top. And for no reason, so I'm wondering if there's something else there. I get what you're saying. I just wonder if something else is up with that. The bubbles, the lettering, like you said, I didn't see anything like stupidly obvious over. I do appreciate that at one point the way they lettered Thor was done like it is in this comic book, but it was before this comic book. I love that they followed through with that. I really did, because I've read some Thor comic books in the past. The lettering looks almost identical to what I remember reading. And I just love that they continued on with that with Thor. It not that it didn't bring anything to the comic book per se, but I love that the appreciation for somebody else's work before was brought over into the book itself.
I think there's a specific Thor font you're supposed to use.
I think it's great because it really is like everybody does machine talk differently. Even Ultron was done in different books differently. I was reading up on that recently.
So it almost kind of sounds like, if I may, Doc, I'm getting the idea that for you, it's almost not exactly nostalgic, but at the same time, it opens up this level of consistency. You get a feel for the character. You get this connection with a fictional character, Thor, and the way that he talks. That kind of mindset of like Deadpool has the yellow bubble to indicate that he's got a raspy voice, and at least that was the idea within the comics. And it's like certain actors that have done like the cartoons have either really hit it or kind of missed it, and you get a feel of like how a character is supposed to speak or the way that they come across by doing touches like that. Like the missed opportunity where I think last week with Transformers, doing that speech bubble with the little extra flares that give the indication that this is mechanical would have just helped part of the experience.
I love it when Transformers comics do that, but they tend not to, much. They
No,
start
and
out doing it and then it goes away.
Well, I totally get it. I mean, like, as you've done so much lettering and such, and I've done a little bit, it's like I do understand of when you got to create something and, produce it out and have a schedule where this has got to be out at this time. There's a difference of doing those extra flares that take up part of your time versus, doing a show on YouTube and doing all this other activities and trying to get pages done for the next couple of issues. So where do you kind of cut and take, or do you go, the art and the experience of it all, I'm going to masterfully create it and take forever, and no one's going to care because it's going to take forever.
So you're not wrong with
that's why you prepare in advance and set it up so you can do it.
You're not wrong with your translation, Alex, but I think it's more so for me the Thor writing, which is where we're handing off here. The appreciation for the people before's work. I think so many times that a new storyteller gets the book and they just toss everything that is known out the window. And I think that's a fatal mistake. It really is if people are writing. Now, if you're trying to get rid of something embarrassing, like, I don't know, midi-chlorians, I understand. But this isn't getting rid of that. This isn't trying to get embarrassment. A lot of times it's just, I'm telling my story of this. Like, yeah, but these other ones are written, and you should appreciate somebody else's art. You shouldn't destroy it to make your own. And that's what it feels like sometimes when a new writer takes over, or even somebody as an artist takes over and totally changes the dynamic of what it looks like. It's just a personal
within
thing.
the lore of something.
Yeah.
And getting the feel of like what the actual story, this continuation of somebody else's work. And you get into these stories, like I agree with, and I see what you're talking about now, Doc, is that it changes part of the tone. It changes part of the dynamics. And we've talked about this offline about role-playing games, comic books, and various other media, movies and such. And the wording or the way that something changes can really affect the way that it feels within part of the story, or like what you're used to, because one group of individuals can understand like last night when we got together and gamed, how Pathfinder and Starfinder has some differences, even though it's the same company. It's Paizo, some great products, but at the same time, when they changed certain aspects, it became part of the conversation that we had last night.
Yeah, Paizo, give us money. And speaking of the tabletop gaming thing, I like that she called the monster unwieldy, because that was like, it went straight to, this dude plays tabletop. Whoever's writing right now, I don't care who it is, they tabletop, because that unwieldy is when you pick up a box that's shifted to one end and it's awkward, you will use it there. Certain people will use it there. But when you hear unwieldy, you automatically assume that person's picked up a tabletop role-playing game book before, because that's a word that's used quite frequently in them. I found it interesting. Overall, the story of this, like I said, I told you the parts that it set me off a little bit. But as a story as a whole, I think this one's actually on the right track. It would depend on what happens and what the theme is going to be, and what they do. Like, if every bad guy is overly misogynistic, obviously I'm just going to put it down. I don't need to even read about that kind of stuff, because I personally don't even like the regular misogynistic BS that people pull, let alone read the overly super hardcore misogynistic bad guy on a comic book. I was like, it's crazy to me. But yes, I do like where the story's going. Couple bumps, but I think it's going to be fun to pick up. The art in this isn't extremely different, but it is different enough. If you do collect for the art, the cover of this I actually thought was pretty cool, because it's an homage to old Captain Marvel books. So let's do some final thoughts, Woody.
Well, I enjoyed the book. It for something where I didn't have a huge amount of experience with the character. As I said, I found it a fun read. It's very accessible. It's exactly what Marvel needs. And we're talking about like a book that we're on issue 3 right now. So this is one that came out a few months ago. But like for timing to match up with the release of the movie, I think it's a good book. And like people that like the movie, want to go out, check out the comics, you don't need any prior experience with the character to get in on it. They pretty much fill you in on everything you need to know about her as you go along. So yeah, I definitely recommend the book.
And
so it's a story that I would definitely say this is definitely the story. This is the universe to the left, or next door. So it's definitely not within the cinematic universe, but it definitely does feel like part of the classic Marvel story. Some of the stuff that we've read on the show, it feels like it fits quite well with the rest of that particular universe. What is that? 661 whatever.
616. Alternator 616. Yeah.
Anyways, but I would have definitely loved if it was a continuation of within the cinematic movie universe, but at the same time, this wasn't a bad story. And as art-wise, I definitely do agree. Like, the cover was quite fantastic. It gave that kind of almost like a war poster or something of like, we can do it.
Yeah.
But definitely check it out for yourself.
Yeah, this is it's a good comic if you're getting into comics. It's, like I said, nothing special, but it is a very good story, well written. It's got a lot to it. If you have some extra money on the side and you want to pick something up and change it up and you've never read Captain Marvel before, I do recommend this. I don't remember reading a lot of it. She does remind me of an old comic book. I wanted to ask you guys about this, and we have some time, so I'm going to throw it out there. Do you guys remember a comic book character, Glory?
Yes.
From Image?
It was
from Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, it was like mid-90s. It didn't last long. That's what I remembered about it.
Didn't she have a spine like this?
Yeah.
Well, they had done that. Then they did a reboot of the character in the last few years where they completely reinvented her, and then that didn't last either and is gone. So,
but
they've had two different versions of that character.
Glory. The reason I'm saying that is because Captain Marvel has something that I think a lot of comic book characters don't have, and that's that human, normal relatability about them, and Glory did. And that's where I see the connection there was, it wasn't superpowers or even the unnaturally curved spine. It's the relatability, because a lot of superheroes don't have that. You see them in their alter egos and they're weird and they try to make themselves so different, or like Bruce Wayne tries to push people away and all this other stuff. And I like the comic. I like this because the superhero persona of Captain Marvel, and then her, it's not even alter ego because like everybody knows who she is they're exactly the same. There's no differences. One little caveat to that too. Spider-Woman is fun in this book. I just want to say that. You guys know me. I hate these crossover characters that are real similar. Spider-Woman, the only thing that's similar is, I don't know the backstory, but the similar in this comic book is that Spider is in the name. Totally unique, different suit, different powers, the whole 9 yards. And she was a lot of fun. And she had the feel of like Peter Parker's wittiness, but she was more mature than Peter Parker was in the books. And I found that to be cool. It was just interesting to me.
So Spider-Woman, part of the reason why she came into existence was to basically prevent DC from stealing the name, because Spider-Man was successful and they realized they had a hit. So if sometimes the other company will co-opt the gender version, alternate version, or some way to basically pirate off the success of the character. So they had to create a Spider-Woman, because if they didn't, DC might.
No, but I like that they didn't just make her the female version of Peter Parker. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And different powers. I thought that was unique, and I appreciated that. It was fun in the book. I don't know anything about her generally. So we're gonna do a little bit of outro here. Do you have anything up and coming? I know the website's up and running.
Yeah, well, we're still working on updating new content. Hopefully I'll have the last of the Gamers Alterations pages updated, and I can start posting new ones. And we're going to be posting a couple new pages of Insulin Shock the next couple of days, and then probably getting ready to launch the new pages of Countermay. And we've been doing the RPG content for Cyber Symbiosis, so I want people to check that out. I'm probably within a week of having it at a people can actually start playtesting.
See, if we had a studio, we can invite people over to playtest and videotape it.
That actually, we might have access to a studio.
I love how you're thinking, Alex. You usually don't promote stuff, but why don't you tell people about your little animation channel?
Oh, okay. So, Kyujin Comic Art is a channel that I do on YouTube. It's got animations, some stills of comics that I've done, basically 24-hour comic challenge, which is a fun thing that happens, I want to say, in September-ish. The good part of Googling is that you can find this information, but if you have to use your total recall, it fails at times. But seriously, so I do an assortment of various drawings and various other things. If you like animation, you like kind of a goofy character that does dimensional travel and has cosmic awareness, check it out at Kyujin Comic Art.
Yeah, you recently put up one of just a blinking eye, and honestly, that's all he did was animation of a blinking eye, and I think I watched it like 2 or 3 times. It was really well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it was really well done. That's you know me. If it wasn't well done, I would have been like, I watched 3 seconds of it and turned it off. But it was really well done.
It looks like the comic challenge was in October last year, so possibly the same again this year. It looks like it may not have been scheduled yet for 2019.
Is there a free comic book day coming up?
It's in May
5th this year, because it's generally the first Saturday of the month of May.
Maybe we can do something for the free comic book day this year, because I don't have to work on Saturday.
Well, we'll figure it out. But I just wanted to mention it because we're a comic book thing, and I think I saw something of it recently.
I mean, we can celebrate May the 4th be with you, free comic book day, and
there you go.
May the 6th be with you.
Revenge of the 5th, homie. Get out of here. I started something new. Please check it out. It's just look up at Doc's Wands all over. I'm a woodworker. It's something I do for fun. I've been doing it for a long time. I recently got bored and picked up some wood and bought a lathe, and I have been going crazy with this. I am going to sell them. Go look at the pictures, and I will be taking custom orders if you guys want. But I just wanted people to get out there to take a look at it and get a little feedback of what you see. The website is docswands.com. I kept it real simple because I have to remember this stuff. And just let me know about that. Everything else, Woody's channels, is miniaturedragon.com the main one? And then
yes, it is.
So they can get to all of them if they go to that one, right?
Yeah. It's just we had all our subdomains that were still active, but try that again. Still active, but if you go to miniaturedragon.com, you can find everything: the RPG content, all of the comic books, the Cyber Symbiosis, Thunderfrog, the whole deal. We'll be updating Cyber Symbiosis. We'll be continuing the Chapter 5 as soon as Insulin Shock wraps up. We needed to give Eric a little time to get caught up in between issues.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that because you guys do a lot. I don't think people realize that. All the different comic books, all the different creations, all the different art, all this other stuff. The stuff for the company is all in one.com if you ever forget. Or you can do cybersymbiosis.com or Counter-May, or I think you still have Counter-May, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Some of those were, unfortunately, because of the chaos with having lost our website, not all those web addresses were active for a little while, which is unfortunate. But it's all back up and running now, and we just need to continue building the content back up on the website as we go, because there was a lot there that had to get reloaded.
But check them out. I want you guys to go to the main page because, like I said, these guys do a lot, and you would miss it if you just went to one. And there's just a ton to it. But we will end it there. So I will say what I always say, which is read more comics, keep it nerdy, and live your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
What?